So how I knew it was going to affect Jevon and his draft status, because Jevon now had this sort of Colin Kaepernick tag.
Mm.
This was the coming off COVID. There were no flying in for draft interviews. Normally, they fly players in and they talk to them and bring them around the building and meet all the coaches. Well, they were doing it all on Zoom meetings. So he's sitting at my kitchen table, and I'm sitting on the sofa, and he's talking to 10 or 15 teams each day. And some teams would call. It'd be the head coach and the defensive coordinator, the DB coach, the special teams coach, and some would call it'd be just the defensive coordinator and the DB coach and the special teams coach. Well, the Raiders called and the whole staff was there. And the
Mm.
Raiders would call again the next day and the whole staff would be there. And a few teams did that. But the Raiders, the last 2 weeks, they called like every day for like a week and the whole staff would be there. And then Jevon was dating someone at the time whose father was a former sheriff. He got a phone call that there's a guy digging into their background. They were doing the background investigation. Called Jevon, told him, hey, they're doing the background investigation on you. And then that day, when the Raiders called, John Gruden asked Jevon, hey, are you going to change your name to Malcolm X when you get into the league? And I jumped up. And then Jevon put his hand up. He said, nah, I got this, Dad. And listen, I use my platform to speak for those people who can't speak. And I'm only speaking for good. And if I'm not the kind of guy who you perceive as speaking for good or doing something wrong, maybe I
Mm.
should be part of your organization. And he hung up on him. And he didn't get drafted by then. And fortunately, he fell to a position where the Dolphins saw fit to be able to pick him up there in the second round, and it's the first safety drafted. And so we spent the draft with the thought process that he might still be picked up, kind of thing. And so that first day went by and nothing happened. We had all the people at our house and we had a party set up over at my gym in the back, and there were people in town, and it didn't happen. And so
Mm.
that was a tough moment, like for all of us. Like, you know, there was a possibility late round if they were gonna get you, but this thing was gonna affect you, and it did affect him, and so he fell to the second round. But he got picked up early, so we didn't have to sit through like a whole day. He was like the fourth pick in the second round, and boy, we were
Right.
ah, we were just jumping up and cheering, and the guys from the Isley brothers, from my generation, the Isley brothers, they announced his name, and it was, we had the camera in the house and all that kind of stuff, and we were sitting there, and it was just awesome. And there's this one picture that we have. I was gonna send it to you, but I didn't dig it up. It was like that moment, like, all this work, all these years, everything
Mm.
that you did, and we just took this moment to hug, for a moment and paused, and it was just a great, 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 great moment for the whole family, for everybody.